There's something unnatural about working the graveyard shift, a feeling that creeps into your bones, like the air itself is heavier after midnight. The store is never truly silent, fluorescent lights hum overhead, the refrigeration units in the back whir and click, and every now and then, the automatic doors give a mechanical sigh, as if they're exhaling, even when no one is there. I tell myself it's just the building settling, just the machinery doing what it's programmed to do. But deep down, I know better. There are nights when the air feels too still, when the security monitors flicker in and out of static for no reason, when the shadows in the aisles seem just a little too dark, stretching just a little too long, as if they have minds of their own. I try not to think about it, but some nights, when I'm alone behind the counter, staring out at the empty store, I can't shake the feeling that something is watching me. Tonight is one of those nights. It's 2:47 a.m., and I've already done everything I can think of to pass the time, restocking shelves, wiping down the counter, scrolling through my phone even though the Wi-Fi is garbage this late at night. The security cameras show the same empty aisles, the same flickering neon glow from the outside sign, the same vacant parking lot with nothing but a single streetlight buzzing under the weight of dead moths. I yawn, stretching my arms behind my head, and glance up at the clock. 13 more minutes until the hour changes. I don't know why, but I always feel weird when 3 a.m. rolls around, like something shifts, like the air inside the store becomes heavier, thicker, harder to breathe. It's stupid, I know. Superstition. The witching hour, people call it, as if the universe resets itself in those dark, liminal minutes, like something ancient and unseen wakes up and moves through the world. It's just paranoia, I tell myself, shaking it off. And yet, even as I try to laugh at my own nerves, I can't ignore the fact that my hands feel clammy against the counter, that the hairs on my arms are standing on end for no reason at all. At exactly 3 a.m., the store glitches. That's the only way I can describe it. The overhead lights dim for a fraction of a second, like a pulse, like the store itself just took a breath. The air conditioning stops, then roars back to life, rattling through the vents like something alive is crawling through them. Every single screen, cash register, security monitors, even the neon "open 24 hours" sign in the window, flashes to static before snapping back, as if reality itself blinked. My heart kicks into my throat as my eyes dart to the cameras, scanning each aisle, looking for anything, for something, for nothing. And then I see it. A figure standing in aisle 6, facing away from the camera, motionless. My breath catches. My body goes rigid. There's only one problem. The doors never opened. I don't move. My fingers grip the edge of the counter so tightly that my knuckles turn white, my pulse hammering so violently in my throat that I can barely breathe. The security monitors flicker again, static crawling across the screens like a dying signal, but even through the distortion, the figure in aisle 6 doesn't move. It just stands there, facing away, completely motionless, like some kind of forgotten mannequin abandoned between the shelves. My stomach knots as I instinctively glance toward the front doors, expecting to see them slightly ajar, a sign that someone somehow slipped in unnoticed. But they're shut, locked just as they have been all night, the neon "open 24 hours" sign buzzing faintly against the glass. I swallow hard, my breath shaky, my skin clammy with something colder than fear. I know every inch of this store, I've worked here long enough to memorize the sound of every creaky floor tile, the hum of every flickering light, the way the empty aisles stretch into an eerie stillness when there's no one around. And yet, there is someone here now, someone who wasn't here before. Someone who never entered. I force myself to move, my legs stiff as I reach for the small radio clip to my belt, my fingers fumbling against the cold plastic button. Hey, Don. My voice barely comes out, breathy, uneven. The night manager is supposed to be in the back office, half asleep, probably watching reruns on his phone with the volume way too high. But there's no response. Just a low static hum, faint but persistent, like an open signal that never fully connects. I try again, pressing the button harder, as if that'll somehow change the outcome. Dawn, you there? We might have someone in the store. More static. No reply. I glance back at the monitors, half expecting the figure to be gone, a trick of the bad cameras, a shadow that never really existed. But it's still there, frozen in place, its head slightly tilted now, as if it heard me, as if it knows I'm watching. My stomach lurches, and for the first time tonight, the air inside the store feels wrong, like something is pressing in on all sides, something I can't see. I don't want to check the aisle. Every instinct in me screams stay behind the counter, stay where it's safe, don't move, don't breathe, don't acknowledge it. But I can't just stand here, waiting for whatever the hell this is to make the first move. Swallowing the lump of dread curdling in my throat, I step out from behind the counter, my sneakers squeaking against the tile, the sound far too loud in the stillness. The store feels different now, the air denser, charged with something that sends a sickening shiver down my spine. Each step feels like I'm wading through something unseen, something thick and heavy that wraps around my ankles, slowing me down, dragging me toward something I shouldn't be walking toward. I grip the small pocket knife in my apron, my heart pounding as I finally step into aisle 6, but the second my foot crosses the threshold, the store's power cuts out completely, plunging everything into an unnatural, suffocating darkness. And just before the last monitor flickers into static, I see it, the figure in aisle 6 turns its head toward me. But there's no face. The darkness in the store isn't normal. It's not the kind that comes when the power cuts out, when your eyes need time to adjust. It's thick, suffocating, like the walls themselves have been swallowed into some void where light isn't allowed to exist. The air turns sharp and electric, a pressure building around me like I've been dropped to the bottom of the ocean, like something unseen is watching, waiting, deciding what to do with me. My breath comes in quick, shallow gasps as I squeeze the handle of the pocket knife in my hand, my sweaty fingers slipping against the metal. The generator should have kicked in by now, but it hasn't. The store is dead, silent in a way that stores should never be silent, not with all the cooling units and buzzing lights and humming machines that should be filling the air with their usual mechanical white noise. But there's nothing. Just an emptiness that stretches, distorts, presses against my skull like something whispering just below the edge of hearing. Then, movement. A slow, deliberate step from somewhere in front of me, the kind of step that isn't hesitant or lost, but measured, like something knows exactly where I am, exactly how close it wants to be. My heart pounds so hard I feel it in my fingertips, and I know, without even seeing it, that it's still there. The figure from the security footage. The thing in aisle 6. I force my feet backward, step by shaky step, my throat tightening with the kind of dread that makes my stomach churn, the kind that screams at me to run, but I can't, because if I turn my back on it, I don't know what will happen. The temperature drops another few degrees, my breath curling in the air in front of me, and suddenly the speakers above crackle back to life, the intercom buzzing on all by itself. A burst of static hisses through the silence, long and distorted, before a voice, low, strained, crawling with something I don't want to recognize, speaks. You shouldn't have seen me. The words slither through the store, as if spoken through a mouth that doesn't quite understand how to form human sounds. They seem to come from every direction at once, curling against the edges of the aisles, seeping into my ears with a sickening familiarity, as if I've heard this voice before but never in this life. My vision tunnels, my legs nearly giving out beneath me as I stumble backward, knocking over a display rack of snacks that clatter onto the floor in a chaotic pile. The noise is deafening in the silence, a sharp contrast to the overwhelming wrongness pressing down on me from all sides. And then, as the last bag of chips settles onto the tile, I hear it again, footsteps. But this time, they're not slow anymore. They're running. Right. At me. I don't think. I react. The moment I hear the sound, those frantic, inhumanly fast footsteps slamming against the tile, barreling toward me with a momentum that feels wrong, too heavy, too eager, my body moves before my brain does. I stumble back, my heel skidding against the slick floor, and I spin toward the counter, my only instinct to run, to put distance between me and whatever is sprinting at me from the pitch-black depths of the store. My breath is a sharp, panicked rasp, my chest tight with terror as I push off my back foot and launch myself over the counter, nearly knocking the register to the ground. My shoulder slams against the glass case that holds cigarettes and lighters, pain flashing through my arm, but I don't stop moving, don't dare look back, don't want to see what's behind me. And then, silence. The footsteps stop. Instantly. Like someone hit pause on a recording, like whatever had been moving toward me simply ceased to exist. My breath shudders out in uneven gasps as I clutch my side, pressing myself against the counter, frozen in place, listening. The store is impossibly quiet, suffocating in its stillness, and for a moment, I wonder if I imagined the whole thing, if the exhaustion of the night shift has finally made me snap. But then, something moves. A slow, deliberate rustle, like fabric shifting against itself, like someone adjusting their stance. The sound is faint, but I know where it's coming from, and my gut turns ice cold as I force myself to lift my head toward the security monitors. Aisle 6 is empty. I blink. No. That doesn't make sense. It was there. It was coming at me. I can still feel the phantom vibrations of its footsteps beneath my skin, still hear the way they reverberated through the store, impossibly fast, impossibly close. But the camera shows nothing. Just a row of untouched shelves, motionless, undisturbed. My hands are shaking as I fumble for the radio on my belt, my voice barely a whisper as I press the button. Dawn. I wait, straining to hear anything over the static hum that crawls from the speaker. Dawn, if you're in the office, pick up. Nothing. The white noise crackles, steady and unbroken, as if the world beyond me has simply disappeared. My heart hammers against my ribs, and I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to breathe, trying to think. And then, from behind me, just over my shoulder, a voice. Close. Too close. What are you looking for? I don't turn around. Every fiber of my being screams for me to move, to run, to fight, to do something, anything, except stand here, frozen behind the counter like a corpse that doesn't know it's dead yet. The voice had come from right over my shoulder, close enough that I should have felt breath against my neck, but I didn't. The air remains unnervingly still, thick with something unseen, something that makes my skin crawl like static electricity is coiling through my veins. My hands clench into fists, nails digging into my palms hard enough to hurt, grounding me in the only thing I know to be real, pain. My breath stutters, a strangled sound escaping my throat, but I don't dare move. If I turn around, if I look, will it be standing there? Will it have a face this time? A sharp, ear-splitting screech erupts through the store, rattling the overhead speakers, making every shelf tremble as if the whole place is about to collapse. The intercom crackles, its distorted shriek like metal scraping against bone, a horrible, grinding sound that vibrates through my skull, making my teeth ache. My hands fly to my ears, squeezing against the noise, but it doesn't stop, it gets louder, angrier, shrieking through the aisles like the store itself is screaming. My knees buckle, and I drop behind the counter, pressing my forehead against the floor, whispering, please, 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 like a prayer to something that isn't listening. And then, just as suddenly as it started, the noise stops. Silence. Again. But not the kind of silence that comes after noise, it's something else, something deeper. It's like the whole world has been swallowed, emptied out, leaving only me in a place where sound was never supposed to exist. Slowly, cautiously, I lift my head, my ears still ringing, my heartbeat a frantic, stuttering mess inside my chest. I chance a glance at the monitors again, praying to whatever God still exists in this place that aisle 6 is still empty. It's not. There's something there. Not standing anymore, not motionless like before. It's crawling, its body bent at unnatural angles, arms and legs moving wrong, like a puppet with its strings yanked in the wrong directions. The thing's head twists too far to the side, its empty, gaping face locked onto the security camera, locked onto me. My stomach lurches, bile rising in my throat, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I realize something even worse than the thing itself. It's closer. The thing in aisle 6 isn't just crawling, it's shifting. Its limbs jerk unnaturally, bending and snapping, elongating, shrinking, reshaping like it's trying to fit into something it doesn't quite belong in. The camera feed flickers violently, frames skipping in unnatural jerks, but every time the image stabilizes, it's closer. My pulse slams against my ribs, my breath coming in rapid, uneven gasps, my stomach twisting into something cold and sick. I press my back hard against the counter, my fingers gripping the edge like it's the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. My body is screaming at me to run, but my legs refuse to move, like my brain is too overwhelmed to send the signal, too wrapped in the horrifying realization that this thing is breaking the rules of the world. The security feed cuts to static. A deep, deafening silence follows, heavier than anything before, like the store itself is holding its breath. I squeeze my eyes shut, forcing myself to listen, to brace for the sound of footsteps, the scrape of something moving closer, the unbearable dread of knowing it's coming for me. Then the lights flicker back on. The store is exactly as it was before, the shelves, the aisles, the dull hum of the refrigeration units, but something is different. Something is wrong. My breath catches in my throat as I cautiously peek over the counter, scanning the aisles, my skin prickling with an unbearable sense of being watched. Aisle 6 is empty. But the automatic doors are open. At first, I think maybe, somehow, miraculously, it left. Maybe the nightmare is over, maybe I imagined the whole thing, maybe I've been awake for too many shifts in a row and my brain has finally given out. But then, I hear it. A voice, soft, familiar, coming from just outside the entrance. "Hey," it says, casual, easy, my voice. I freeze, my stomach dropping into a pit of ice. It's me. It's my own goddamn voice. Slowly, I turn my head toward the front doors, and there, standing just outside the store beneath the flickering glow of the neon sign, is me. It's perfect, too perfect. The same uniform, the same posture, the same weary expression I saw in the bathroom mirror hours ago. It lifts a hand and waves, a slow, almost lazy gesture, like a friend spotting me from across the street. I can't move. I can't think. My mind is splitting apart, unraveling at the sheer impossibility of what I'm seeing. Then, my reflection tilts its head, smiles just a little too wide, and says, "Come outside. We need to talk." I don't move. I don't breathe. The thing standing outside, the thing that looks exactly like me, smiles wider, its expression stretching just a little too far, its eyes too still, too empty. The store's neon glow flickers against its face, painting it in pulsing red and blue, and for a moment, I swear I can see something beneath the skin, something shifting, writhing, pressing outward as if the body is nothing more than a suit. My stomach clenches, bile rising in my throat as it lifts a hand and gestures again, slow and deliberate, a perfect imitation of the way I wave at customers who don't belong here. "Come on," it says again, its voice smooth, easy, mine, but hollow, like a recording played through blown-out speakers. "Come outside. It's safer out here." Safer. Safer from what? My lips part, but no words come out, my throat locked in fear, my thoughts spinning in useless circles. It can't be real. None of this is real. I squeeze my eyes shut, pressing my hands against my ears like a child trying to block out the monster in the closet, willing myself to wake up, willing the store to return to the way it was before, when the scariest thing I had to worry about was a drunk customer trying to shoplift a six-pack. But the second I open my eyes again, it's still there, only now, the front doors aren't open anymore. They're locked. And the thing that looks like me is gone. A wave of nausea crashes through me, my limbs going weak as I stumble backward, heart hammering so hard it feels like it might crack through my ribs. It was just there. I saw it. I turned toward the counter instinctively, my fingers already reaching for the store phone, for my radio, for anything that might ground me back into something normal, something safe. But before I can take another step, I hear it. A soft creak. The whisper of a door shifting open somewhere behind me. The freezer. I don't want to turn around. I can't turn around. The air is heavier now, thick with something cold, something unnatural, pressing into my lungs like I'm drowning in it. The freezer door swings wider, its metal hinges groaning as if something inside is pushing it open, inch by inch, waiting for me to look. A sharp, high-pitched beep echoes through the store, the freezer's temperature alarm, a feature I've heard 1,000 times when someone leaves the door cracked too long. But no one left it open. And I am not alone. I force my head to turn, slow, unwilling, every nerve in my body screaming against it, and that's when I see it. There's something inside the freezer. Not a person. Not an animal. A shape, a mass of shifting, twitching limbs, tangled in itself like it hasn't figured out how a body is supposed to work. Its skin, if it can be called that, is pale, almost translucent, the blue light of the freezer casting unnatural shadows through it. And its face, God, its face. It's wearing mine. The thing in the freezer doesn't move, not at first. It just stands there, hunched, twitching, shifting, wearing my face like a grotesque mask that doesn't quite fit. Its lips part, but no breath escapes, no words, no sound at all, just an open-mouthed imitation of something it doesn't understand. My stomach lurches violently, bile rising in my throat, my mind frantically rejecting the sight in front of me, refusing to accept that something like this can exist. It isn't possible. It isn't real. But the cold seeping into my bones, the sharp sting of the freezer air against my skin, the dull hum of the refrigeration units pressing in around me, this is real. Then, it moves. Not like a person. Not like anything that should be able to walk, breathe, stand upright in the world I know. Its limbs jerk forward, one at a time, as if testing the motion, figuring out how a body is supposed to move. It takes a step, then another. Its bare feet slap wetly against the freezer floor, leaving behind something dark, something viscous, something that shouldn't be coming from a thing that looks like me. My breath shudders in my chest as I stumble backward, my hands hitting the metal doorframe, but I don't dare look away. I can't. I know, somehow, instinctively, that if I take my eyes off of it, even for a second, it will close the distance. And then, it speaks. The voice that comes out of its throat is my own, but wrong. Distorted. Warped, like a recording played backward, like a voice coming from something that doesn't have lungs, something that isn't meant to speak at all. You shouldn't be here, the words slither from its lips, choppy, uneven, stretching too long in some places and snapping off too short in others. A sound gurgles from deep inside its chest, and I realize, it's laughing. The thing is laughing, but its face doesn't change, its mouth doesn't move, as if the sound is coming from somewhere beneath its skin, from something deeper inside. The temperature plummets. The air thickens, turns sharp, unbearable, suffocating. I can't breathe. I can't move. The thing lunges. I slam the freezer door shut just as its hand, my hand, shoots forward, slamming against the glass. The impact rattles the frame, sending a shockwave through my body, but I don't let go. I press my weight against the door, holding it closed, my palms slipping against the metal as something pushes from the other side, relentless, eager. The thing inside doesn't pound on the glass, doesn't scream or rage or demand to be let out. It only watches. A face that looks exactly like mine, only emptier, stretched too tight, pulled too thin, stares at me through the fogging glass. And then, slowly, it smiles. I don't know how long I stand there, my body pressed against the freezer door, my breath coming in short, ragged bursts as if the air itself is being squeezed from my lungs. My hands are slick with sweat, the metal cold against my palms, but I don't dare loosen my grip. The thing inside isn't trying to force its way out anymore. It's just standing there. Watching. Smiling. The fog from the freezer's breath coats the glass, distorting its face into something even more inhuman, stretching the grin into something impossible, something that doesn't belong in this world. Then, a sound. Not from the freezer, but from the front of the store. A knock. My heart nearly stops. A knock at the glass doors. Someone is outside. Someone real. My legs tremble as I push off the freezer door, half expecting the thing inside to lunge at the moment my weight is gone, but it doesn't move. It just tilts its head, as if it knows something I don't. I don't give myself time to process the sick feeling curling in my stomach. I turn and sprint toward the front of the store, my shoes skidding against the tile, my lungs screaming for air. The automatic doors are still locked, still sealed shut from whatever glitch started this nightmare, but beyond the glass, I see a figure. A real person. A cop. I slam my hands against the glass, banging hard enough to send vibrations up my arms. Hey! Hey, help me! My voice comes out ragged, desperate, a drowning man reaching for a lifeline. The officer, a man in his late 40s, heavy-set, face creased with tiredness, looks startled for a moment, then steps closer, gripping his flashlight in one hand. I see his mouth move. He's talking. Asking me something. But I can't hear him. The world outside is silent. The entire street is dead. The buzzing neon sign above flickers, casting quick flashes of red and blue across his uniform, making his expression shift and warp like something out of a dream. Or a nightmare. I shake my head, pressing my hands harder against the glass, my voice rising with panic. I'm locked in. Something's in here with me. He raises a hand, motions for me to step back, his other hand reaching for the radio at his shoulder. I do as I'm told, stumbling back, relief flooding my chest. He's calling for help. He's going to get me out of here. This is almost over. And then, his face changes. At first, I think it's a trick of the flickering lights. A shadow moving across his features, stretching them, shifting them. But then his eyes go wide, his lips parting slightly, not in confusion, but fear. His gaze is locked on me, but not at my face. At something behind me. A cold, sick feeling seeps into my stomach. I don't want to turn around. I can't. But I do. I have to. The freezer door is open. And the thing is standing right behind me. I can't scream. I can't breathe. The thing is standing right behind me. I feel it before I even turn, the weight of it pressing into the air, bending reality around its presence. My body locks up, my muscles refusing to obey, my brain screaming run, move, get out, but I can't. Slowly, stiffly, my head turns. And I see it. It's closer than before, inches away, its head tilted at that same unnatural angle, its mouth stretched wide into a parody of my own face. Only this time, it isn't just smiling. It's mimicking me. My own posture. My breathless panic. A mirror image, only wrong. Its hands twitch, its fingers cracking as they bend back too far, too eager, too unnatural. The skin, my skin, isn't right, shifting like something underneath is trying to settle into the shape of me, testing the fit. And then, without moving its lips, without shifting that horrible grin, it speaks. I'll take it from here. The world implodes. The lights flicker wildly, strobes of red and blue bouncing off every surface, casting the store into fractured, flickering horror. I stumble back, my legs finally responding, but it moves with me, staying perfectly aligned, shadowing my every motion. The glass doors rattle in their frames, the security monitors burst into static, and the officer outside, his eyes are wide, his mouth is moving, shouting something, but I can't hear him, I can't hear anything. The air is gone. The pressure inside my skull builds, my vision tunneling, and for the first time in my life, I feel myself slipping away, unraveling, like something is pulling me out of my own body. I claw at my chest, my breath coming in shallow, desperate gasps. No, 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 this isn't real. This can't be real. The thing, my copy, my replacement, reaches toward me. Its hands press against mine, its fingers sinking into my skin, passing through like mist. Like it's trying me on. The glass doors burst open. Everything snaps back into focus. The officer is in the store now, his flashlight swinging wildly, his voice sharp, panicked, barking orders I can barely process. I collapse to the floor, my entire body convulsing, choking on nothing, gasping like I've just surfaced from drowning. The cold is gone. The air is back. The thing is gone. But the officer, he's staring at me. I look down at my hands. They're trembling. They don't feel like mine. His voice is quieter now, uncertain, his flashlight beam shaking as it rests on me. Sir, are you all right? I try to answer. My mouth opens. But the words, they don't sound right. The security monitors flicker back to life. I catch a glimpse of myself on the screen. And then, I understand. I see myself. But I don't feel myself. The thing in the freezer, it didn't disappear. It switched places.